Welcome back. Oh, we hope we got you dancing with those musicals. If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Abuja. And here we have an author in the house. Okay, he's going to be talking to us about reading culture. Do you read? Okay, we'll find out. And he is Chedoze Eze. He has a book titled Teenagers of the Bible. But before then, let's get to meeting. So,
good morning,
welcome.
Mr.
Good morning.
Chedozie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay,
Yes,
now
okay.
before we go into
Before you ask your question,
okay,
before we talk about that,
okay.
the title of the book or the book,
Yeah.
reading. Everybody says, Okay, personally,
Yes.
I love to read.
Okay.
Of course, not everybody does. And I don't know, there's this general belief
Yes.
that we don't read. I don't want to pick offense in that. What is your take on that?
That we don't read.
Yeah.
It depends on who we are.
Nigerians.
Black man.
So we have a poor reading culture. But
Okay.
if what you are saying is the popular maxim that the black man does not read, I think that is an emotional blackmail for the
Okay.
black person.
Okay, I like that.
It's no water, yes.
Okay, is that why they also say that if you want to
Hide something.
valuable things from a black man, you should put it in a book?
Yeah, but then again, it's wrong to say
Generalize.
an entire 1.4 billion people do not read. That is wrong. So
All right.
we might have a poor reading culture. We need to work on that. We need to develop the interest of our young people in reading. But then I do not agree that black people do not read. Doesn't
Okay,
make
so
sense.
ratio, let's say okay, 1 to 10,
Yeah.
rate us.
Again, it depends on
Who?
who you are rating because
The youths.
again,
Because we are the future.
we are the future, but then it depends on who you're rating. So the interest of people, for instance, if I'm rating a young person who lives in Lagos or Abuja,
Okay.
it's going to be different from when I'm
one
rating
in the
somebody,
village.
even within Abuja here.
Okay.
Depends on where you go, you're going
Okay.
to find that the approach or the interest for
Okay.
reading is going to differ.
Differ.
And there's a lot of factors that
Honestly.
influence that. So you just cannot say we do not
okay.
read.
Okay, let's look at your
So we read.
We read.
In other words,
Yes,
we read.
Yes. So that impression is wrong.
Yeah,
That's what
it
we're
is
saying.
wrong.
Okay, so let's look at your book.
Okay.
Teenagers of the Bible.
Teenagers of the
Why
Bible.
Teenagers of the Bible?
Okay, because also I deal with young people,
Oh, okay.
and
Because you're young too.
I'm young. I mentor teenagers. I work with a lot of them, and so from a Christian perspective, I wanted to help young people to look at contemporary lessons they can draw from an otherwise spiritual text, something that they can draw to apply. So if you look at the book title, it says it's Bible lessons, but for the contemporary teenagers. Because when you look at religious text, a lot of young people want to approach it as religion, but there's a lot of wisdom there. There's a lot of life values that can be drawn out of there that you can apply on many facets of life, and then they work. That's why I decided to do that.
So now I'm curious, what prompted you into doing that?
Again, because first of all, drawing out the lessons from those books is one thing, but also trying to identify role models for young people, which is something that I'm big on talking about when I speak to young people, is about who are your role models and what exactly are you learning from those. So the book was essentially a character study. I looked at when you talk about the Bible again, it looks like it's just for old people and old characters, but it's amazing to find out that there were young people who did amazing things in all of those stories.
Yes.
And so what are those things you want to learn from those characters? Because they were young like you are, and they did all the great things that they did. What can we learn from them? So I practically did a study of about 9 young people, and then highlighted all of the lessons that can be drawn from their life stories. The likes of Daniels, the likes of David.
I would have been surprised if Daniel and David.
The likes of, and then the not so popular people like Messiah. I'm thinking of somebody else, including the Esther. A lot of persons do not realize that she was a teenager in that whole episode that played out in her life. So that's
okay. So how has it been?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good, essentially because, of course, on face value, this is Teenagers of the Bible. Why do I want to read it? But then everybody gets onto it. And then even adults are reading and say, wow, I never thought that all of these things could be drawn out of. I actually thought that you were going to write something. And by the way, that's the second book I've done. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at the response from the youth.
Okay.
I know we just cleared this that says we don't read. So they read. So let's look at their response to what you have written. How has it been?
It's been amazing, like I said.
Okay.
Depending again on the age that you are looking at.
Okay.
Some categories of young persons, of course, need product. The thing about young people is that you need to cast a vision. You need to point them in a particular direction for them to follow. If nobody is pointing that direction, then they're not going to follow.
Okay.
So young people are very impressionable. That's true. And so if you make the impression and give them convincing reasons why they should go in that direction, you can be sure they will buy it.
Wow.
Okay, right. Okay, so let's write it up this way. You know, there is this some people are willing to read.
Yeah.
But as soon as they carry the book, they slip off. What advice? I'm not talking of only youth now.
Yeah.
Adults,
Yeah.
youth, once you carry, like, okay, let me tell you one story. If I want to sleep,
You pick up a book.
a boring book. No, that's my own personal.
Yeah.
I pick up a boring, either newspaper or a magazine or something, and first I will sleep.
Okay.
But now there are some books you really willingly want to read, but as soon as you pick it up, like then you doze off. There are so many people out there. What advice would you give to them?
Okay, you specifically said a boring book. And so I'll advise that you don't read boring books. So that if you don't want to fall asleep, don't read boring books.
Okay.
But then also, generally, because this is a habit that has to be formed, and so you have to apply the discipline aspect of it. So sit down there, start with 20 minutes, do 30 minutes,
Okay, now
do an hour.
Okay,
You
your
go.
advice
Yeah.
to the youth. You've written a book for them. So what in your final words, what advice do you have for the youth?
There's a lot of potential. Youth
Mm.
in itself, there's a lot of potential. But then it requires refinement.
Mm.
And refinement takes time.
Oh,
It takes time.
awesome, awesome.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
around. At
My
least
pleasure.
now we know that we read.
Yes.
And we will continue to read. We will not get tired of it.
Okay.
And please stop reading boring books like me so that I don't doze off while you are reading.
Interesting books.
It has been fun chatting with you.
so
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
coming
much.
around.
Yeah,